Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this delightful Sunday. And my topic today is I Release and I Let Go. And I really love that opening song that Anthony and the Unity Band did with Ricky Byers and Beckwith from the Agape Church wrote, I Release and I Let Go. In particular, I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, it's only up to God. So I wanted to really just expand upon that. The theme, of course, is acceptance, and the affirmation is I release resistance and experience acceptance. So, what I'd like to do is just really present three major ideas here for you to get your mind wrapped around to see whether you are on this path of moving forward and the willingness to release and let go and accept yourself. And by doing that, we move forward for great things. So, what does all that mean and how do we go about it? Well, the first idea that I want to give to you is the predominant thinking, and this is a self examination one can do on a daily basis, but the predominant thinking here is either self acceptance or self rejection. We are either in one mode or the other all the time. Yeah, major, easy to see, sometimes very subtle and not so easy to see. So, self acceptance is really the willing to release and let go. Let go, and we're going to talk more about that, but just the willingness to release and let go. And for example, if you're ever looking for a solution and it just isn't there, the more you ponder and puzzle it and music, the more confusing and things get. So, what we need to do is we need to let it go, and whatever it is that we're looking for will come. And that's more of a self acceptance. I remember back in the days when I was working as a corporate controller and a CFO of this corporation, cranking out numbers. And one of the things that all accountants like to do is they like to balance, and all of them experiencing not balance at a period of time. And so the more one looks for a problem sometimes, the harder it is to find, and harder to find a solution. So what we got to do sometimes is we just got to put it there and we got to let it go. I remember going home many times with an issue and sleeping on it. Next day, walk right in and boom, boom, boom. Much like if you're ever done a jigsaw puzzle, it's the same thing. You can work on it, and all of a sudden you get frustrated, nothing happens. Then you can walk away and come back 2 hours later and go bing, 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 just like that. Okay, and that's part of what the problem that we have. So we got to be willing to release and let go, and that is self acceptance, and it also indicates trust. And what that means is that we're trusting that the spirit within us will give us what it is we need to know and need to do. And by the way, you don't even have to know about this, and it works, because I didn't know much about this at all when I was cranking numbers, but I knew that worked. So I didn't understand the principle, I didn't understand the concept, but I knew that by working on things and then leaving it and then coming back, it's much more productive. And it just doesn't matter what it is, whether it's a jigsaw puzzle or cranking up numbers or whatever it is, it just works that way. Now, if you're not willing to release and let go and move forward, then that's self rejection. And so all of our activities that we do are either balanced with self acceptance and self rejection. And you could really get into doing that and mining that and looking at the depths of that. So just remember that one has the power of self acceptance or self rejection. And all of that takes place in the hallowed wonders of our mind. It's up to us. Uh, the second idea I want to really introduce and talk quite a bit about is I surrendered. And when one gets involved in the 12-step programs, masterminding, any of that kind of stuff, one of the major steps is to surrender. I surrender and I let go. That doesn't mean you're letting go of whatever it is. That just means at the human level, you're willing to park it and draw upon the inner spiritual resources. And that is one of the key things that we want to work towards in our life, is allowing the Spirit to guide us. Pema Chodron said, nothing ever goes away until it teaches us what we need to know. So a lot of those things that we got in our life that we may be willing to let go of, but they keep coming back and we find it difficult, is because there's something that we need to know and learn about that. And it doesn't matter whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. If it just keeps coming back, there's something to learn about that. And of course, people say they don't have a problem with good things coming back, but however, good things drag you back into the past just as much as bad things do. So I surrender. And when we're looking at that, there's really two aspects of it. One is letting go of attachments. Okay. And by the way, if you can master this, then I'm going to tell you that the one thing you're going to have to accept is a deeper sense of peace in your life. Not around you, but peace inside of you. And if you have the peace inside of you, you can take it into the cauldron of what's going on around you, and you can find your way to experience joy and creativity. I know there's a lot of restrictions placed on us because of COVID, and more so for, quote, older people, because they're the ones that are susceptible and dying. So what do? Yes, I've been isolating quite extensively. However, I've been doing lots of gardening and lots of working in the art, and I've spent 25 days in 25 different places in the Canadian Rockies. I mean, does it get any better than that? So I'm actually finding a lot of joy in my life by surrendering my attachment to the way my life was before. And by the way, folks, I think regardless of how this whole thing works out, that's one of the most important things that we can do, is let go of the way it was before, because there is a new norm coming. And we can either be in resistance to it, or we can be acceptance to the wave and work with it. And when we work with it, we roll with it, and then we can experience and garner goodness within ourselves. So let's talk a little bit more about that. What type of attachments do we need to work at letting go of? People that move out of your life, that you love and you care about, and they move somewhere else, or you don't see them as much. But we have to let people go. And I always say that one way or another. Dr. Tom, one of my teachers and mentors, once said that some people bless you by coming and others bless you by going. Let everybody that comes to you bless you, and let everybody that leaves bless you, one way or another. All depends. There's a lot of different ways to take that. And then you got to release your attachment to things, because things are simply that. They are things. They are not who and what we are. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with having a lot of assets. The only thing that's going to cause you any challenge with that is, one, you got to manage your assets, take care of them. Or two, you got to make sure that your assets don't own you. That's the greatest problem. And of course, that takes us into self-rejection, because we allow ourselves to be controlled by outer situations and circumstances in everything that we do. The other thing to release attachment to is opinions. Oh, yes. We all have opinions. And you know what? I always tell people that you're entitled to your opinion, and I'm entitled to mine. You live with yours, I live with mine. I don't have to agree, and I refuse to enter into an argument with anybody, because why do I want to convince somebody that they're wrong and I'm right? I don't really care. That's your opinion. You're entitled to it. Now, we could have a debate and a discussion on the pros and cons about something, but that's fine, but not a right or wrong. So you got to really release attachments to your opinions. And you might say, I don't have that many opinions. Yes, you do. Your whole life's governed by your opinion. Just make sure it's your opinion and not somebody else's, or not one that you're subconsciously carrying forward from your childhood that's working on you and through you that you don't even know. So you got people, things, opinions, and negative self-defeating thinking beliefs. So mind yourself and see what you believe about yourself, and know that if it isn't wonderful and if it isn't good, then it's a lie. Everything that you are is fine. Oh, you might say, well, you don't know what I've done. No, I don't. You don't know what I've done. But believe me, I cannot allow what has happened to govern what I am going to do and what I'm trying to create for myself. Yes, we've all made mistakes. Yes, they've all been errors. Yes, some of us, maybe one or two, have done despicable things. Well, you can't do anything about that. What's done is done. All one can do is accept things and move forward, and to quit browbeating self, which takes me into the last point of the letting go of attachments, and that's self-condemnation. Yeah. All you got to do to get a good make on that is just step out of the shower and look at yourself in the full-length mirror and see how you feel right away and see what you say. So we got to get rid of condemning ourselves, because that is the greatest form of self-rejection that you're ever going to get. It should be number one on the top list, that we are a beautiful expression of the divine, expressing it uniquely in our own way, and because we are immersed in the human experience, at times we make judgments or we sin, which means missing the mark or missing the target. We all do that. And no matter how smart you get, you still do it. It's just that with work, you can minimize the amount of self-condemnation and criticism and negativity and maximize the good part. And it's a practice, it's a tool, it's something that we got to be aware of and we got to work with. Okay, so the next one here, I said, let go of past attachments, and there's the 5: people, things, opinions, negative beliefs about self, and self-condemnation. Whew. By the way, you work at that, that's called self-acceptance. You might not like the way you are. However, when you can accept the way you are, then you can change, because you can't start anywhere other than where you're at. So we move into the second part of surrender, and basically that's let God do it. That is the idea of surrender, of the acknowledgement and the recognition that there is a spiritual presence within us that can guide us, lead us, and direct us to fulfillment and whatever it is that we need to know and do. It's there. So we just need to allow that to happen. So one of the things that we do is we want to cultivate this spiritual acceptance and work with it. One of the things that's key here, which Emerson said, get our bloated nothingness out of the way. So that's the challenge. In the pure human experience or physical, we call it ego. And we want to move over to allowing our life to be directed by the spiritual. And so we've got to cultivate that. And part of cultivating that is not only to be aware of it and to meditate, but it's learning to accept it and listen. And listen doesn't necessarily mean sound, it could be a voice, but listen to how the world around you and the people in it are speaking to you. Okay? It's very important to tune into that because the world around you will let you know exactly what it is that you need to know. The Spirit will always give us signs and always will guide us. Jesus, the last thing that Jesus said on the cross in Luke chapter 23, verse 46, is, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. That's the total act of surrender. So when we turn it over, then the last barrier between the physical and the mental is dissolved, and the way is open for God action to take place in us and through us. And the last thing that goes with that, cultivate it, be aware of it, and accept it. Hey, when you get those messages, in particular, which ones we call intuitive, then you got to act on them. Mostly we table them and say, oh, well, we'll do it later. No, we got to act on it now. And the last thing here to realize is that the only constant in life is change. Dr. Holmes in the Science of Mind textbook said, creation is always beginning but never ending. Creation and experience are eternally going on, but any particular experience is measured by time, and it has a beginning and an end. So creation is eternal, but experiences have beginnings and ends. And that there is no stagnation in spirit, nor should there be any other in our idea of spirituality. To be spiritual is to be creative. The spirit is alive, conscious, aware, and active within us. So we have to accept that and quit trying to maintain the status quo. For example, a goal, once you've achieved it, is counterproductive because it becomes your past. And we're not meant to stay in our past. Yes, we can enjoy it and be grateful for it, but don't rest our laurels on it because we move forward. And to realize it's never a matter of whether we're going to change or not personally or individually. It's a matter of what we're going to change into. And I can't tell you what you're going to change into or what I'm. Well, sorry about that. Something happened and they shut down. As I was saying, it doesn't matter whether you work with it or not, you are going to change. So it's a matter of what am I going to change into? And nobody can tell you that and guarantee you that. However, we can guarantee that you are going to change into something. And if you work with these spiritual ideas, what you create and what you change into is immensely better than where you started and what you were before. So the other thing to realize, the last idea with this, is that if you hang on too long and try to hang on to all of those things, then what happens is we get stuck. If you're stuck, a good way to start is learning to let go. I call it being spiritually constipated. And we need to give ourselves a fix. And that is getting back to being connected with the Spirit and being willing to let go and let God. So I know for you, as I know for myself, that we are whole, perfect, and complete at all times and all ways, and that the divine presence of good and God in us, through us, and by means of us guides us, leads us, and directs us to peace, prosperity, fulfillment, and happiness. It is ours now. We accept it. We give thanks for it. We know it is so. And so it is. And thank you for being here today.